necessarily the views expressed by the ZNS Radio Network and by extension, the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas. What's the secret of change? We don't fight the old. Instead, we focus on building the new. Welcome to the Table of Change. Come on in and have a seat at our table.
It's another Table of Change. It's Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. I am always excited. I'm always excited because the Bahamas is going to learn and we're going to change all the things we need to. Tamara, are you excited?
I'm excited. It's raining. We are here, but we are at the table. Rain can't even stop us, right, Jackie?
That's right. It didn't stop me.
For all of you listening in tonight, you want to get comfortable. You want to get your tea, get your hot chocolate, and get comfortable. Tonight in studio, we have a dynamic young man. You're going to want to hear what he has to say because he's bringing such a wealth of knowledge. So sit back, get your tea, get your hot chocolate. Remember, you can call in at 325-5403 if you have any questions. 325-5403. And our toll-free number is 300-8255. And of course, if you're interested in sponsoring, you're going to call 449-9106. But here in studio at Table of Change tonight, let me just tell you a little bit about this gentleman. He has over 2 decades of excellence in the IT industry. He stands as a leader who has left a lasting mark across multiple sectors. He's renowned for his deep expertise in IT consulting, project management, and cybersecurity. He has spearheaded initiatives that has transformed organizations, technology, frameworks, notability, developing a cybersecurity framework for major industries. He is matched only by his strategic insight, allowing him to effectively oversee complex systems and design secure, resilient IT structures. His drive and organizational success, his commitment to continuous learning keeps him at the forefront of his emerging technology fields, making him a trusted advisor, a problem solver who delivers lasting, impactful solutions, impacting our customer service industry. Tonight, we welcome to the table of change, we welcome Mr. Sebastian Carey.
Thank you.
Nice to have you.
It's a pleasure.
Mr. Carey, I have all those questions for you that me being a little technology challenge is going to ask tonight. So I hope you brought your patient's cap, right? You're going to wear your patient's cap tonight, right?
I'll do my best.
I just want to start, give our audience an idea in terms of when did you become interested in the IT field? Did you know computers is always something you wanted to do, or when did you get the spark for this IT technology phase?
Well, that's a very interesting story. What happened is that at the age of 16, many years ago, I had a computer and it failed on me. So I took it to this guy, and all he did was unplug something and plug it back in, and then gave me a bill for $250. And I was like, hey, I got to do that. Because in 30 minutes, he made $250. And from then on, it just became something I was interested in. So I started to learn and grow. And I interned at NIB as a summer student, working with people like the great Andre Bethel, Kareem Hanna. And one of the things they gave us to do as IT summer students was, if you wanted a PC to play your games on or do your work on, you had to build it yourself. So they give you all the parts, and you had to actually put it together yourself. And people like Kareem and Osman Lacroix were people who I would say would have mentored me and made me really passionate about IT.
Mm-hmm. Would you say, when you're thinking about it from another point of view, sometimes I find, and I could be wrong, that computers sometimes could add a hindrance in terms of customer service. You know, here at the table of change, we always talk about customer service and trying to find avenues to improve customer service. But I know I may sound a little aged when I say sometimes it adds a little barrier sometimes in terms of customer service. What would your answer be to that?
I think it depends on the deployment and the situation. You are correct. There are sometimes barriers that occur because people don't understand the technology or they weren't properly trained in the usage of the technology. Or sometimes it adds an extra component to an already lengthy process. And I think it goes with process alignment and process reengineering to make sure that what you put in the system reflects the accurate steps or the accurate process to make something happen. So you see it both ways. Sometimes it's just a poor implementation that needs to be re-engineered so that it's a lot faster, a lot better, more efficient. So customer service can always improve. I believe in continual process improvement, but I think a part of it is that you have to align the technology to the business, not just buy technology for the business. And that's the challenge that we face a lot in the country. We buy the system and then tell the IT person, okay, you got to make it work. But did you look at the requirements? Did you look at the process? Did you look at what people do now? Did you meet with them and figure out what steps they take? Or did you just ask them, you know, if you were in this position, what would you change? What would you make different? Sometimes requirements are the reason why the system doesn't work as it should.
Now, I'm going to step in and I'm going to share a real experience that just happened on yesterday. And so I had some medical issues, and so I was at Oak Tree until about 10 o'clock on Sunday night.
Wow.
And so, they gave me what I needed for the pain, and I decided, well, I didn't even remember getting any. I just wanted to go home because the medication, I'm already sleepy. So I got home. Now, Monday morning, I needed this medication. So I said, okay, I'm going to call Lowe's, and I can call the business name because I spoke with someone that worked there, and this is a circle, so I think it's going to help their business. And I had a WhatsApp number for the store at the Carmichael, that complex on Carmichael Road.
Mm-hmm. Southwest Plaza.
Mm-hmm. And so I just WhatsApp and I just sent it to them, and I left a message and I said, I would like to pick it up from Soldier Road. And I chose Soldier Road because that's in the route for me to get to work. So it's now 7:56. They got the message. I got a response from them at 8:56, an hour later, telling me that they WhatsApp the number of Soldier Road. And I'm saying, okay, this cannot be right. You're not going to just send a number to the customer. And I was turning into Soldier Road Lowe's at the time. And so I said, I'm going to still go because maybe she already put it in. And so I went to the back in a little pain, and I asked her, did they send something from Southwest? And she said, no, they didn't. So she said, she asked what I wanted, and she said, I think, can you wait about 20 minutes to get it? And I gave it to her. I wrote something on the paper, gave it to her, but I changed my mind. And I said, no, I'm not going to wait. Service need to be better. And I explained to her, I said, I left another pharmacy and came to Lowe's because of the same bad experience. And so I left with my prescription and I went to work. And I decided, Jackie, it's time for you to call. So I called down at Southwest Plaza and I explained my situation. And I'm saying this because as customers, you have to demand your service because we are the ones who they are benefiting from us. And so I spoke with two persons, and I got someone, and everybody is sorry about it. And I said, sorry doesn't work anymore. You can say sorry. It doesn't. Sorry has a hole in the bottom. It just does not stand. And I said to him, I said, what I would like to happen is I would like someone to deliver the medication to me. Then that would show me that you're really serious about it. So he agreed that he'll do it. He asked me if I was stepping out. I said, no, I'm here for the whole day. I'm not going to go anywhere. So anyway, he called me. He told me how much it was. What I would have to pay after my insurance is covered some. And so I said, okay, I'll have everything right here ready for you. Now, I was expecting him to come earlier, but another mistake, it came very late. When he came, I kept calling back and I said, I'm in so much pain. I really need the medication. Can you find out where he's at? Let me find someone to meet him and pick this up. I never got a response back. So when he came, my coworker had locked the door when she went to lunch, and so now I had to get up to open the door. The worst thing that could ever happen. And so he was able to come in and see me in all this pain. And he was like, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry for taking so long. I really didn't know that you were in all this pain. I said the pain came because I had medication last night. If I had that medication earlier, it would not have been like that. He said, this is too much. Do you have something to eat? And he stayed there and he explained the medication to me. He made sure I took it before he left. And I had to change with the prescription right there. He said, no, we've already taken care of that. So he did not even charge me. And I'm saying this is what you have to do. And so I said to him, I'll talk about it. It started wrong, but it ended up right. And that's what so Lowe's is the place to go because they are ready for, they're not into bad service. So if you ever get that, you can complain about it. And so great job, Lowe's. His name was
Jackie,
Davis.
You said they text you a number. I just want to make sure you went to one location. Why exactly did they text you the number of another location?
Well, I didn't go to that location. What happened is I had the WhatsApp number for the Southwest Plaza Lowe's.
Mm-hmm.
And I put in the prescription and I just told them I would like to pick it up at Soldier Road. So Mr. Davis said, what should have happened? It was okay that they text the number for reference for next time. But they should have said, of course, there's an automatic message that they got the order. But someone should have typed and said that the order would not be ready until an hour and a half, give some time, and then they should have WhatsApp that to Soldier Road. And then tell me that when to pick it up. So technology is good and is bad.
But see, that's not a technological process issue, in my opinion. That's a process flow. They should have had a process that if they get a prescription at a certain time, here are the 10 responses that we can give. One of those things in our process should be to give a customer a fair guideline as to when the prescription will be ready. Mm-hmm. They should also have had a process that when someone wants to redirect a prescription from point A to point B, we do a handover, which is we provide the customer that number because that might be their favorite location, but we also contact our payer to say, we have now insert this prescription for you, and we are rerouting this customer who intends to pick this up at this time. So it's not a technological problem, it's a process flow problem. And when you do business analysis, you get to see the difference because the technology worked.
Yes.
You got a response.
You're right.
But the process was flawed because they didn't do the correct procedures when it was time to redirect you to another location, nor did they have excellent communication to say, we expect to be there. He should have called you when he was leaving the office and say, I'm leaving the office now. Your estimated arrival time is 2 hours from now. And at that point, he would have gotten your opinion to say, I can't wait 2 hours.
Yes.
Or they should have had some form of technology whereby you could track him as he moved around to see when he reaches to you, or where you could have reached out or communicated with his manager or something for them to check in with him and say, we've gotten an update from the driver. He'll be there in 20 minutes. So it's process, and a lot of people are attributed to technology when it really is process.
You're right. Yeah. You're right about that. So it was not the technology, it's the process. And because with technology, we still need human beings to man it. We still can't leave us out.
And I think that's something people use technology as a crutch. When something don't work, you just call and blame IT. Sometimes it's not IT. Sometimes it is. IT is actually customer service. So when you call me in IT, you're calling customer service, and I'm asking you, how can I help you? And you will give me a description of what your problem is, and then I have a series of steps that I have to follow in order to help you get your problem resolved. So a lot of people feel as though the IT person has to be this techie who sits behind a desk and he doesn't move and he is very, very, very impersonable. But the great IT people are really great in customer service. They're the person when you're stressed out and you're like, I can't take it no more. I want to throw the computer out the window. And they say, calm down. Tell me what's wrong. Let me get connected and let me help you to work through it. So again, there are two sides of that coin.
Tamara, you want to go ahead with that question?
Yes, someone wrote in and she's asking, do you feel that technology is replacing people in the workforce?
I knew that question would come, and I would say yes and no. My reasoning behind that is because there will always be the need for a mason and a carpenter and a skilled person, because there are some things that a robot can't do. I have a robot in my house, and it was supposed to simply walk you around Bahamas and show you from point A to point B. When you go into Pizza Lab, it takes you to your table and sits you there. But they had an incident where a kid just touched the robot arm and the robot stopped dancing, stopped moving. And in that case, you need a person to kind of step in.
Yeah.
Additionally, AI can help you. It can do some things from you, but it's impersonal. So you still need that touch and feel for quite some time. I think that what we need to do is skill up for the time when that AI becomes a bit more involved, and it will need us to give it its guidance, to train it, to show it what it needs to do or how it should process some information or an action. Because at the end of the day, you can have the greatest technology, but if it doesn't have that personal feel, you're going to go away from it. You want to go back to what you're used to. It's like some people when you ask them to pay online. No, I want that paper receipt, and I want a stack of receipts so I could show you every time I've paid you. But you could get that online and you could see that on your account. No, you just have people who haven't made that transition because their personality is more, I need to interact with someone.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's look at the banks. I heard lots of people, the older people, when they go to the bank, they're just putting them onto technology. But that's a process. Someone told me tomorrow, I don't know if it's you who told me a story, but someone said they had a lot of bills, a big deposit that they had to make. And she really did not want to do it at the machine. She didn't feel safe doing it because it was just so much. She went inside and they said they cannot take it.
Again, that's a process issue. Because as you transition from a cash to society, there are going to be some people in the society that you have to help to move along to that transition. There also should be some mechanisms, and there should be some autonomy. So you just can't give technology without autonomy for someone locally to make a decision. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening as we become more globalized. You have someone who's very far away from the situation, who's mandated a set of rules, but can't adapt those rules to the local environment so that you can make some common sense judgments. Mm-hmm. There should be a concierge in the bank, and you should say, hey, listen, I'm trying to deposit $50K here. It's going to take me maybe 20 minutes to get this into the machine. Do you have a special booth that's for VIP guests or for businesses who are not just doing $1,000, but maybe about $10,000 or $15,000? And can you relocate me to a separate area where I can do this transaction? Mm-hmm. Or is there a better time that I should come? Or is there a drop box or safe that you have available that can facilitate that? I think what has to happen is people have to step up their customer service.
And that's where the fault is. But
right.
they just don't want it. They're just leaving the people out there to do it. And banks in the Bahamas, we need you guys to get on board with this. If you want people to change into something new, you need to take your time. It's not going to be a one-time show. You have to take your time and try to get them comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're going to always need someone to be there.
Not always. I think that it goes with maturity, and there's a grace period is what I call it. It's a transition. Mm-hmm. It's a cutover is what we call it in technology. When we put in the ATM for BPL, everybody was like, oh my God, you're going to put in an ATM. And it sat for a considerable amount of time before we installed it until the pandemic hit. And then they were like, oh, Sebastian, like we need to be able to deal with the people so people want to come in and pay. And I was like, we got an ATM sitting right down. Let me just throw it in the wall and connect it, and it's going to work. But then we found out that gave us the ability to make some cost savings. And people after a while got used to it because they were using the Island Luck ATM. It was right next door. And then they just go and they come right to BPL and they pay their bill.
No, but BPL, I can tell you with BPL. BPL has the machine. I didn't know that they had that machine. I went on the line. I went to the customer service area, and someone missed and dropped a pen, and I pick it up for them. I was asking for some help. No, they were having a good conversation, and when I went there to ask for some help, they told me where I need to go. So I said, I know I'm interrupting the conversation. Can one of you help me? And one of the ladies said yes. And she came and she went outside and she helped me with that deposit. I think it was really nice being able to do that. I went there another time. The line is long. So the customer service don't have anyone there. That people just want to pay their bill. Why isn't someone coming to the line to say, if anyone, you have a credit card, cash, come with me?
Again. So that's again a process issue, and we did have a process at BPL for that when I was there. What happens is that they had a tablet, and they would call you and they would say, "Do you want to pay by card?" And this happened when we had the long lines of the pandemic. What they did is they called the people, they walked along the line, and then they would take them and redirect them to the website and say, "Here's what you need to do to process this payment. And in the future, if you don't want to come here, you can use your card right here on this website. If you need to have your account reset or your PIN reset, call the Call BPL number that we put in place, which is our contact center at the time." And that kind of helped people through. But again, it's a transition for the customer. And so sometimes technology is put in place without a proper transition, without the proper marketing, without being able to say, we have this new machine, it's great, it takes cash, credit card, check, it's EMV certified, so you don't have to be worried, and it's at our locations in a safe place. But that marketing didn't happen, and that's a part of that transition, a part of the customer service, and a part of the process that should have happened to deploy a new piece of technology into a cash environment.
Do you think, well, hi, Glennie Shaw, Brad was here before, and we had a conversation about technology. When I was here last, we had a conversation about technology and more seasoned Bahamians, right? I think that sometimes we need to understand that it's marketing as well, but it's also when you market it, people are not interested. I have family members that still refuse to buy things off Amazon because they don't trust the internet, they don't trust anything digital because they don't understand it. So it's a little bit of ignorance until you use it at first and you're like, that was easy. And the second time you use it, you realize, okay, I don't need you to use this anymore. When Facebook first came around, my mommy would be, what's this? And she'd just be like, teach me how to do this, and teach me how to post a status, and teach me how to change my profile. Now she changed my profile by herself. She's commenting by herself. She on my Facebook commenting, and sometimes it's just learning how to use these products and how to use technology. So marketing is one part, but it's also the fact that people have to be pushed to use it.
You just did it with your mommy.
Yeah.
You just needed some patience with her.
Yeah.
And she asked you to show what she wanted to learn, and so it's just like the way you did with your mommy is with the customer service at BPL. That's what they need to do. We know that no one is going to grab for it right away. We have to present it right. I can get anyone to listen to me. I can say, it's going to be easy. Come on, I'm going to show you. It's not hard. So what you need, Glenn, is some patience with your mommy.
But it also goes back to what you were talking about with the process and people. And what I find with a lot of Bahamian companies is they have high turnover rates with people. There are people not staying on the job long. So the people that know how to work these systems, they move on very quickly to somewhere else where they find themselves more happiness in the job. Or because other people are leaving, that person that might have been out there at BPL, two people might have quit from inside the cashier's cage. Now that person that was out there in customer service has to go into the cashier's cage. They can't handle all of the instruments, and it's just a people thing. It's a human resources thing that we miss in the Bahamas when it comes to customer service. You could have a really, really good worker, and you could work that person to the bone, to the point where they can't manage or handle everything. So even with your situation with Lowe's, there could have been a younger person that wasn't on, that knows how to handle WhatsApp orders, and they left for the evening or they called out. So it's someone who's probably really busy, and think about it even like this way, like you could be in Lowe's, I'm here and the customer, I'm in front of you and there's a long line. If I see you picking up your phone, I don't really care what you're doing. I see you on your phone. I think that it's social. I think that you're communicating with your friends. I don't think that you're working, because people look at our phones and they think social. So once we also leave that behind, because again, a process, is there a person that deals with just digital orders that's on the side? Is there someone that just deals with the people inside? And that could also be a big issue, because that person could just pick up the phone and say, okay, let me just send them the number without communicating, which is, again, one person trying to do many things. And it goes back to that process again, what he was speaking about with people, where we need to manage the people. And marketing, I always tell people, you have to treat your workers and make sure that you have workers for each thing. We overwork people in the Bahamas to a point where you lack customer service because that person is so overworked.
So I want to touch on a few things, and I thank you for your help there. Happy birthday, Mommy. I'm going to shout you out now. Yes, today is my mom's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
And one of the things I learned is when it came to WhatsApp, my mom had a basic phone, and we gave her an iPhone. And the fear came in. The fear kicked in. Oh, my God, you gave me an iPhone. I don't know how to use this thing. And she threw it down, and we were like, no, Mommy. This simple, this easy.
Right.
Me and my sister, we've had almost every generation of iPhone. And so we said, okay, we'll show you through it or whatever. And over time, I think when people feel the need, and like you say, pushing people, when my mommy realized that there were some communications that were happening and she were missing them because she was in the group but wasn't checking the group, she started to learn, and it pushed her to, I guess, inspire herself. Now, if she don't send us a message every morning, we trying to figure out what's wrong. But it takes, either your kids or your family members or your friends doing something to kind of spark that interest in the technology. And once you get it, we find that some of these people who are so afraid of it are mastering it pretty quickly. Secondly, you spoke about the fact that the high turnover rates. I think what's happening is that we have a brain drain as well as a leadership problem in the Bahamas. In companies, we lack certain things, especially major companies. We lack data analysts. We lack business analysts. Yeah. Those are two jobs you very rarely hear in the Bahamas. The reason why they are critical is because the data analyst is going to look at what's happening in your business and say what the trends are. And the business analyst is going to look at the process and say, what do we need to change here to make the business more effective or make customer service better? So they look at it, they look at what they call inputs and outputs. Okay, you get this paper coming in from the customer. Where does it go? Who has to see it? Who has to touch it? How does the process change? How do we make it more smoother? Why does this person need this? Or why are they filing this stack of paper what they don't need? Okay, what do you do after you stack this paper? Do you actually go back and look at it ever? No, we just put it in the filing room because that's what we've been doing for 20 years. Right. And see, people, they jump on the technology side, but they don't look at their process and say, why do we keep that paper? Even with working with cybersecurity in the Ministry of Health, we found that there are some times when people have multiple sets of the same data. And so we've had to look at it and say, how do we get a single patient record? How do we get one patient, one record, instead of you having multiple records in different locations or multiple copies of stuff? And that takes a process, and people don't see the value of that. But technology works like this. You get it out of it, what you put into it. And a lot of people don't want to take the time to look at their processes so that they could get good technology. And sometimes the answers are in the organization, and you bring in a consultant who's only going to sit to someone's desk and say, well, how you do this? And why you do it like that? And what you do after you get that? You know what they're doing? They're charging you a bunch of money just to ask you, what is your process? And then they come back and give a report, and you realize, well, this is stuff that I tell him. Yeah. But he just put it in a format that people could understand, and then align the system to work along with that format that you gave him. And companies here need to see that really and truly a lot of our customer service problems are really process driven.
Wow. Tamara, I know you have a question.
My question is, one of the callers, she has a 15-year-old son, and he is interested in going to college for cyber technology. But she feels that his access to computer classes in school have been kind of like on a, on one level. And she wants to know, what could she do now? Or do you know of a program, or do you know of something that he can now maybe do on his own to get him more prepared for when he's able to go to college to now take on this cyber technology field?
Well, the first thing I would talk about is immersion. There are so many parts of IT. There's the infrastructure part, there's the cybersecurity part, there's the applications part, there's the programming part, there's the integration part. You've got to find out, first of all, what is his personality and what does he like. And there's also the gaming part, like designing games or just playing games to make money. Once you understand what is it that he really wants to do, you need to get him into some form of an internship or start him off on a path. Every certification has what they call a track, and you have to start him in some courses. Because I'll be honest with you, when I went off to university, I took computer science, and after a 3.5 hour exam in C++, where we were programming and we even had bathroom breaks and all that stuff because the exam was so long, I said, you know what? I'm an extroverted introvert. Yeah, I could do programming, but I don't know if that's for me. Mm-hmm. So I had to make an adjustment to another area of IT that was more suited to me. Mm-hmm. So I think the first thing is he's got to find out what he truly likes. Then he has to look at the top certifications in that area. So if he's a person who likes order, he might want to be a IT project manager. If he's a person who likes gaming, he may want to be a game developer, designer. If he likes marketing, he may want to be a graphic artist. All of these are areas of technology, but you first need to start with what is it or you want to do in the future. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the starting point, and then you graft your career from there.
Okay.
Excellent, excellent. What would you say in terms of an HR person is looking for someone for her IT department? What type of, I guess, qualifications or what type of individual are you looking for if you had to fill an IT position as an HR manager?
That depends on the requirements and your business and how it works. Again, it depends. If you have a software company, your IT requirements are going to be different from if you're a government corporation or you're a private company. Do you outsource anything? That's another question. So if you have people who run cables for you, you won't be looking for a technician that does cabling. You'll be looking for more or less a technician that either repairs PCs or does stuff. So it depends in each company. However, there are some basic entry-level certifications that an IT person should have that I feel that every IT person should have. That's an A+, which means that you can do basic computer repair, and a Network Plus, which means that you could set up a basic small network. And from those foundations, you should be able to branch off and do certain things because you want someone who's going to be able to manage a help desk or do help desk troubleshooting. And those basic courses help you to be able to support a help desk or a basic business.
Okay. I just want to remind our listening audience of the number that you can call, 325-5403. And on the Family Islands, we love you. A special love for the Family Islands. Please call us at 300-8255. Please call in. We love to hear from you. Sebastian, you only look like you're about 25. Walk us through some of your experiences.
Wow. I worked as outsourced IT. What that was is that I worked for a bunch of different companies remotely, and I would come on site and repair stuff. Some very big names here. One of them you mentioned earlier in the show. Yes, Lowe's. I did work as a consultant. I then went into a government corporation, which was a very interesting experience for me. I started off in junior management and skipped middle and went to senior management and became a CIO. During that process, I deployed a $3 million system. Yes, Bahamians could do big things.
Wow.
And I got my PMP. It was interesting, that experience, because I had to travel to Orlando to meet with some members from Fidelity Information Systems at the time, also called Metavante. They are the biggest banking software solution in the world now, I think, globally. And we had selected them because they had a great platform. So when I went over as the project manager to do the training, I saw a lot of people just walking out of the offices to come meet me. And so I said to the PM at the time, I said, why is everybody like rushing out of their office to meet me? And he was like, Sebastian, they wanted to meet you because you do the job of 10 people, and they want to see who this person is who do the job of 10 people. Wow. And I explained to them, like, when you're on an island, you are it. IT is it. Yeah. So you've got to be able to be flexible and do all of these different things. And they were like, well, we have a person for this, and we have a person for that, and we have a person for that, but you're the only person on your side, and you're keeping up with it. Wow. And it helped me to realize that Bahamians could really run circles around people.
Anyone.
Because they're good. And you don't realize it, and you're not inspired until you go out and get that exposure. And so at that time, after I got my PMP, because I asked him, I said, you have an MBA. I don't want to go and spend $50,000 more to go get an MBA and then have to get a PMP. And he was like, well, here's the difference. The MBA says that you went to college and you can do certain things and you have the theory, but the PMP says that you could do the work. Mm-hmm. So I skipped it. I got the PMP. And shortly thereafter, I left the corporation. Of course, I got the, you can't leave. It's a government corporation. Man, this is a lifetime job. Are you crazy? You're going to leave? And you're making this kind of money. And someone said to me very early in my tenure, you don't show anybody anything. And I said, that is against what I believe.
Wow.
It's what you leave behind that's important.
Wow.
And so I got a guy out of university. In fact, I actually had to have a surgery on my spine. And so I was out for 3 months. So I had to train a guy who ended up taking over for me and running the place when I left. And I feel proud of that. He's actually running another entity, his IT now. And it's really, I guess it's gratifying to say that, you know, I helped someone to achieve some of their goals. And I left and I went to Grand Bahama. And the funny thing is that I was hired in Grand Bahama Power Company not because I have Microsoft, Cisco, and VMware certifications. I was hired because I had a PMP. I had a great manager. His name was Tony Lopez. He was the vice president of administration. And I said, Tony, why did you hire me? He said, because you got a PMP, Sebastian. That means that you could manage money, you could finish on time and on budget, and you got a $4 million budget to run here. So you better don't mess up my money. Wow. And it was just an interesting transition, you know, going to a private firm to see that they look at life so differently. Their view was, you are now a leader of this organization. We've got to build your leadership skills. They sent me to Barbados for a couple of weeks to do what they call People Leaders Essentials. And what it does is it trains you how to identify with your employees and understand how to better manage them. They give you something called like a colors insight wheel that tells you if you have a person who can make decisions quickly or a person who needs all the research to think about it before they make a decision. And it tells you if a person needs to be involved in order to have buy-in and stuff like that. And I thought that, you know, the training there I got at Grand Bahama Power Company was invaluable because it kind of prepared me for the future. Right. So coming back to Nassau, you know, working at Water and Sewage, I found that I was a bit ahead of where I needed to be in my career because I had some exposure from outside. And, you know, I think every part of your life is a journey. I've done, I think, almost all areas of IT, and I've interacted with some great people, some not so great people, but it's all been a journey. And I think that journey has been rewarded because everywhere I've gone, someone who's worked directly below me or have been my right or left hand has taken over that place and has run it for multiple years without any issue. And I think that's what your legacy should be across the Bahamas. We've developed other Bahamians to do what we did. We do the proper succession planning. We do a great handover, and people can do the work, and the corporation or the place that you work is in a better situation when you leave. But not everybody thinks like that.
Not everybody. Tamara, do you have a question?
Yeah, Sebastian, I can hear that you are sought after in your field. Were you losing a lot of young, intelligent, energetic young people to Canada and America due to the fact that I'm sure, in terms of the money that you are able to demand, if you were in another market, you may not be able to demand that amount at home. What makes you so young and so viable and decide that you're going to leave your talents here in the Bahamas, that you're not going abroad at this time, I should say?
I think it's my sense of family. I love my family. I don't always get along with everyone, but I love them. And I think it's the fact that the Bahamas is the best place in the world. I really truly believe that. I've lived in Canada for about 4 years. You know, I've traveled to the States a lot extensively. But there's some things about the Bahamas that's totally unique. Unfortunately, we've given the best to many individuals, but there's so much more that we could build and we could make, and so many more ways that we could grow as a country. And so I feel like I wouldn't want to retire anywhere but the Bahamas. Me, Tarpon Bay Lutra, that's me. And I think that I'm going to build a great home there. And I'm going to, end up being there, looking on the beach with my toes in the water, and working from on the sand, because there's no better place in the world to be but the Bahamas. You go to Canada, they take all your money. I've seen a post that, Josh Chisholm makes like $6 million a year, and after taxes is $3 million. Yeah. You work too hard to give away all your money. You need to keep some. Plus, I think a lot of people who leave don't have that sense of family, that sense of cohesion at times. And I think that plays a part. I've just been looking at, I was sent a job actually via the IDB for Barbados to design the cybersecurity framework for the government of Barbados. And I think that it's going to give great exposure, and it's a wonderful opportunity. But at the end of the day, even if I were to take that job and do that, I'd still want to come back and be home. Yeah. Because it's just no place like the Bahamas. The Bahamas is like, you could go and have a different experience on every island. And that's one of the things I think we should encourage people to do more, to island hop. Because I've found that you get a better vacation when you're running up and down, pushing trolleys, or toting stuff.
My apologies. Via Zoom, please turn off your microphones. Go ahead, Sebastian.
Yeah, so I think it's the person. I mean, yeah, I have friends who've moved to those locations and those jurisdictions, and it's great. But over time, you hear them saying, boy, I miss home.
Yep.
Or, boy, you can't bring me some crack unk when you come in. or that bamboo shack. And even if they put one in Miami, it still ain't the same. It's that the warmth of the Bahamian people is just different. Wow. When you go and you move to these other jurisdictions, you walk down the hall, ain't no one tell you good morning, and you feel strange. Yeah. And when you tell them good morning, they look at you like you're strange. But that good morning, that stuff that your Grammy give you, you just can't buy that. Like that feeling. Sometimes you might be having a bad day, and just the way someone tell you good morning, it just make you feel better. And I think everybody need that in their life, just to have that feeling of, I guess if you want to call it, respect, of comfort. To know that there are people who are actually concerned and personable. So I guess it just goes with you as a person and what you value. I think I value relationships more than money. I think I value respect more than, loyalty. Because at the end of the day, I feel as though it's really and truly the man who follows me. I always read this poem. It's called The Little Chap Who Follows Me. It talks about being a careful man because you're going to have someone who's walking in your footsteps, basically. And I have a son. And so for me, I think it's really what I build for him and what I leave for him and where I would want him to grow up more than what I want to achieve. Because I've achieved many different things, but I really want him to have the type of environment, the type of knowledge, and for him to develop a very, very good grasp on who he is and what life should be like.
Sebastian, I want you shared one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on the show. You were sharing some information with me, and I had to say, Sebastian, I don't want to hear it all because on the show I want to hear it for the first time. But I want you to repeat this one. It's something that happened on a job, so younger people can realize that you don't have to get angry if things don't go your way. I think it was something about someone using your information and getting a job. Share that, please.
Oh yeah. Actually, yeah, I designed some templates that were used for a consultancy that I did. And the guy called me and he said it was excellent. And he said, would you mind us using it in another jurisdiction? I said, no problem. I said, it's fine. In fact, you could use me. And he came back a few weeks later and a few months later, and he offered me that gig in Barbados and showed it to me. And I said, that was great. I had another experience whereby I had developed the system for the corporation. I won't say which one it was. And they brought in a consultant and told him, you go and sit at Sebastian's desk and he can tell you everything you need to know. So the guy started hounding me. Hey, Carey, man, they tell me you know everything or whatever. I said, okay, please advise me of what you want to know. So, he kept, coming after me. So I said, you know what, here's what I'm going to do for you. Take this booklet, put a cover page on it, and give it to the board. And they're going to tell you that you're the best in since sliced bread, and they're going to give you a contract because that's what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So he went, he put a cover page on it and submitted it to the board. I won't say what board this is because I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay, that's fine.
And they gave him a contract for $100,000. And so my boss at the time called me and he said, man, you need to see this. This is great. Look at this. He gave us this. This is excellent. You need to do some work like this.
Wow.
So I said, hold on, wait a minute. And I go to my desk and I came back with the original report. And I had the report he gave me in his hand. And I said, can you tell me the difference between this and this? I said, let me save you the trouble. I gave you this 6 months ago for free. Wow. And you didn't read it. Yeah. And he gave you the same thing with a cover page like I told him to. And you just paid $100,000 for something you already had.
Wow.
And I said, this is because you feel in the Bahamas that foreign is better.
Oh, my gosh.
And so he looked at me and he was so upset. And he said some choice words to me. And he was like, Sebastian, you're smart, Alec. And he didn't use the word Alec. And I said, but it's true.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I gave this to you 6 months ago. Look at it. I said, look at the date on the report. I had that report done. It had all the things that you needed to see and address. And he gave you the same report back. And he looked at it and he was blue. And he said, well, we're going to get some recommendations from this guy and he's going to tell us how to fix these things. I said, you're not going to get that because when he comes back to my desk, I'm going to tell him, go and earn that $100,000 that you just got because that's more than I make a year.
Yeah.
And so when the guy came back to me smiling, boy, Carey, boy, you so smart. Boy, that was excellent, boy. The board loved that. So let's talk about those. No, I got a corporation IT to run. You go figure it out.
Yeah, you got to go do your work.
Go do your work. And we find that this happens all the time.
Yeah, people get taken
it's not the
advantage.
technology, it's our mindset where we believe that someone outside has to come and teach us what we already know.
Wow.
And that's been a challenge that I've seen throughout many different dispenses. Working as internal IT, outside IT, is not always the technology. It's just sometimes people don't feel confident to trust their staff who have the right answers.
Wow. And so I really wanted you to explain that just so young people can know it doesn't matter if something go wrong. You can always bounce back. Glenisha, you have another question?
No, I was listening to your comment about sometimes we feel foreign is better. And that is something, I don't know why, that stuck in my head that whole time. I was like, we do think that sometimes, but sometimes we have this inclination just to believe the Bahamians are not trustworthy. And then we have issues with, again, customer service where we just feel like we're not getting the responses we want. So I was sitting here twisting out saying, is that really true? Do we feel like it's better in the Bahamas? Do we feel like foreign is better? Or is it experiences that make us feel that way?
No, we've actually we've actually, I think, taught ourselves that. You remember that slogan, "It's better in the Bahamas"?
Mm-hmm.
Who was that designed for?
Tourists.
So if you grow up hearing that, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's designed for someone from the outside.
Right.
How do you feel about it? You subconsciously programming yourself that it's better for them.
Yeah.
You never thought about it like that, right?
Yeah.
But I think that having the support of outsiders helps. I don't do everything by myself. I've been taught that you take something and you modify it as opposed to building it from scratch. A big challenge I see everywhere I go is that people believe they have to build it themselves. And this is why they're not successful or they're not great or achieve a lot in their tenures, and they take so long and so much time and don't get the results they want because they want to build it themselves. No. When I worked at a multinational, the first thing the guy told me was, take the templates we have, modify them to your liking, and then resubmit them. It's going to take you less time, and you're going to have a better product because you can focus on the customization as opposed to the building. And so a lot of people still don't have that concept. So when I did the cybersecurity stuff for the government, what I did is I worked with the NIST, the National Institute of Science and Technology framework, and I modified it so that it could be localized to the Bahamas. Whereas other people would have tried to build something from scratch, when I was asked to justify how did I come up with certain things, I could refer them to the code and align them to a global standard that was modified for the Bahamian environment. And that allowed me to do a project in 8 months that would have taken people 5 to 7 years. But again, we have to trust ourselves and trust our process. And I think that the biggest challenge is that we have a lot of practitioners and not enough people who have both the theory and the practice, the practical. So you find a lot of IT people, well, how'd you do this? Oh, I was dabbling and I started to like it and I've been doing this for 20 years. Okay, but when it comes to a problem that they don't understand because they don't understand the theory behind what they're doing, it takes them a lot longer to figure out how to make things work, whereby I troubleshoot based upon what are the logical steps and what's the theoretical steps, how does the system function to get a root cause analysis. And so when you listen to what I say and what I do, is totally different from them who just, let me unplug this, let me plug that back in, just restart your computer. No, you have to kind of start, and I think organizations need to start to backfill the experience with theoretical knowledge. You've got to make sure that the guy who is fixing your pump goes to a course on pump repair. Don't say it's too expensive and you can't afford it, because that 1 week you may send him to training may be the week when he learned that one thing you need that's going to save you thousands of dollars of downtime. And so it goes with exposure, whether or not you're able to build someone to be fully competent. And that's the thing. People lack the competency because they have the practical, but not much theory.
So you're saying theory is so important.
I think it's a balance, because you have some people who come out of school with all the theory but no practical experience.
Yeah, so
and this is what people use as their guard to say why or going to college is not the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's a balance. Everything in life have balance. So yeah, you come up with a theory, but someone has to give you that practical experience for you to be great. Or you have that experience and you got to add that.
I have
theory.
to chime in because one of the messages sent, she said, please ask the question because she knows we're running out of time. Mm-hmm. She said she's so happy to have you on the show and expressing your in your field of computers. And she said that her 12-year-old son is sitting next to her and he encouraged her to please ask you, were you always so smart? Were you always smart in high school? Because I guess he's a little intimidated in terms of going into computer fields because he feels that you're so smart. If you could help him with that.
I got good grades. I did, but I think you have to do what you love. So, computers for me is just an everyday thing. It happens all day, every day. Sometimes you're drained. You walk home and you come home and your daughter's like, "Hey, Daddy, can you look at my tablet?" Or your son say, "Daddy, my iPhone doing this crazy thing. Have you seen that?" Or you have a cousin or a customer who calls you at the 11th hour and say, "I can't print," or "I can't do this." And for me, it's not work because it's kind of something that I just grew up doing. It's just like an extension of myself. So for your son, if he really loves it, he's going to be great. The first thing he has to realize is that you do what you love. If I didn't love computers, I probably wouldn't be as good as I am with it. I'd actually have a degree in management and a degree in marketing. And so when people say you do computers and they're like, "Well, is your degree in computers?" No, it's not. My degree is in management and marketing. But I have some of the top certifications in the world. I'm a computer information security professional, which is one of the top. And I'm a Microsoft certified professional, and I'm a Cisco certified. So Cisco's the global leader in networking, Microsoft in operating systems, and of course the CISSP as well, and the certified ethical hacker designations that I have. They came because I was really interested in computers, and so I started to take more time and learn some things going along. So if he loves it, he'll be great.
Tamara, let me sneak one more in. Tell us some of the things that we need to be running away from, the securities. Just name some that we should not do when we come across this.
Well, I think you should always check to see who a email or a message comes from. That's the first tip, because you'll see that the name is spelled wrong.
Yep.
And you got to really use your common sense. I think cybersecurity is just common sense. If someone call you and tell you wire them $1 million, and then they'll give you $3 million, that don't make sense. It's just that simple. I think if you apply common sense, you're great.
You have 2 more minutes, Tamara. You can close us out. If you have one more question,
I got to close you out with
answer.
this one. One of the notes she said was, she said, in terms when you were speaking about better in the Bahamas, she said it was designed for Bahamians who left the country and now looking back and are realizing it was better in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Sebastian.
Okay.
Nice.
We're always out of time. You know, Sebastian, we could have talked to you for hours, and you just have so much knowledge, and we thank you for coming to the table and sitting down to the table and letting us know in terms of the options that are out there, and just giving us a new, refreshing respect for our Bahamas. When you spoke about Tappan Bay, I had to remember I'm a Curran Island Elutra woman. I know what an Elutra sunset would look like, and I spent some time in Tappan Bay at the dock end, so I know Tappan Bay well. But it was just refreshing to know that what's instilled in you, you are now giving back to the Bahama land. On behalf of Table of Change, we want to thank you for being on the show tonight. It was a pleasure having you, and we look forward to having you again. Those of you listening in, thank you for listening. We'll be back here at the same time, Tuesday, 8 p.m. for Table of Change. It was a pleasure having everyone on the show and our listeners for listening in. My name is Tamara Fox-Smith.
I'm Jacqueline Fernanda-Moxie.
I'm Gwenisha Aubrey.
And I'm Sebastian Carey.
Have a good evening.
Thank
See
you
you
so
next
much,
week.
Bahamas. Good evening.